Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the REC podcast, brought to you by REC Comics and Collectibles. I'm your host, Roman Chavez, and with me, as always,
Eric Icarus.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a special guest,
Jordan Tunney.
All right, Jordan. Jordan reached out to us, friend of the show. We name drop him quite often.
Yeah, we do.
And he called me up the other day and said, I have an idea for a show. And Jordan, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm a teacher by trade, by profession, and you know, as a teacher, we're getting back into the school season, and I was just thinking one day, there are so many movies that are about school, like, you know, back to school and you know, what's happening in life, and so I just thought it'd be fun to maybe talk about movies that kind of bring us back to when we were in school, or movies that we enjoy, that school's a part of it, and kind of give us that experience of the awkward teenage years that we all painfully repress.
I don't know what you're talking about. I loved high school. Well, go ahead, start us out. What are some movies? Give us one that you're that is, you know, hits home, brings you back, takes you to a place. What's it going to be?
Okay, so one of the things that pretty much everybody asks when you tell somebody you're a teacher, is always asked, like, why did you become a teacher? There's so many people in the education field that are family, like generation, like my mom or dad was a teacher and my grandma and all these things. I'm the first teacher in like my entire family.
Okay.
And so I remember when I was junior, senior in high school, trying to figure out what I was going to go to college for, and I knew I'd stay local and, you know, then decide what career path I wanted to do. I had a few different things floating around my head. And I will tell you, there is a movie that I watched that made me... It's not the reason that I became a teacher. It made me think about what can happen when education is fun and interesting and engaging for students. The movie was School of Rock with Jack Black.
There you go.
And the thing is like, I'm not at all musically inclined or anything, and you know, it's a fun premise, fun movie, that sort of thing. I love Jack Black comedies, but I'll tell you, just watching it, I just sort of thought that, you know, like, man, this would be like the kind of teacher that would really, I mean, it would just be a blast. And I had good teachers going through school, for sure. I had a lot of teachers that inspired me, and I wasn't the best student. And I think there's a perception that the best students become teachers, but it's usually not.
Yeah.
It's the people that are like, man, like, if I really had applied myself, if somebody really connected with me,
yeah,
if somebody really was able to point me in the direction of other, you know, areas of interest, then maybe I would have been more on my academics and that sort of thing. So after watching the movie, I really started thinking about, like, man, would I enjoy being a teacher? I started looking into it. I started talking to teachers that I had as a senior in high school, and decided right after graduation that it was going to be something I'd pursue.
Nice.
And it stuck.
There was a point in my life where I wanted to be a history teacher. I had applied to, I think it was, at the time, it was CSU at Pueblo.
CSU Pueblo, yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to go to school to be a history teacher. I got accepted. I was going to go do my thing. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do nothing instead.
It's an exclusive club.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to wait till I'm in my mid-30s and then start a podcast. That's what I'm going to do, Dad. All right? My wife, Christine, she brought up School of Rock as something that she wanted to shout out. She loves that movie. I don't want to steal anybody's films to talk about, but she did. That was one that she wanted me to shout out, so I'm glad that you touched on it. Do you think that because you're what, 5 years into teaching now?
7.
Jesus.
I'm starting my 7th year teaching.
And how Jack Black are you at this point?
Got the bod down.
You can't teach that. You know, you got to earn it.
Yeah, I do have. I bought a guitar my junior year in high school. I had a guitar class in high school, and I went to Guitar Center. I got a very basic starter. It's an amp. You know, the chord, and it's a Stratocaster, and it's in my classroom right now.
Nice.
And every now and then I'll sing Happy Birthday to a student. We'll do it as a whole class, and I stood up on my desk last year.
Yeah.
Cranked it up to 11, and played Happy Birthday for the student on guitar. You know, and I'm no musician by any stretch.
Yeah.
But.
It's all about showmanship, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You're the front man. There you go.
But I will say that there are those sort of things that happen in the movie where obviously all the kids are musically inclined and he's musically inclined and finds that way to connect with them.
Sure.
And there's so many, like I was just decorating my classroom yesterday and I was putting up, I have like these jokes about communism that like the students find funny. Like I have a thing that's like, is your child texting about communism? And it's like BRB is better redistribute bread. And But then I've got some Back to the Future posters. I've got my art from Comic-Con that I've gotten over the years, and sometimes a kid comes in and they're like, "That's a cool Winter Soldier print," or "That's a cool Wolverine thing," and then we start talking, and just finding those ways to connect areas of interest. And like, it's not all we do, but it's like when we do our economics in my 7th grade class, it's like let's do the economics of the exclusive. It was the Wonder Woman, the Mattel, Wonder Woman plane.
That was just an empty box.
It was just an empty box, yeah. And they go onto eBay and they see this thing is selling for like $70, $80, and they're like, "Why is this?" So it becomes a fun conversation piece about like supply and demand. And if you try to do it with, "I'm going to open a business," and they have no frame of reference, they won't get it. But when we talk about entrepreneurship and starting a business and doing something nobody else can do, and I show them the clip from Ghostbusters when they've captured Slimer at the hotel, and they just make up the amount of money. You actually see Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd kind of look at each other, kind of like, well, this much and this much, and the guy's like, "Oh, that's too much. I'm not going to pay it." And they're like, "We'll put it back," because they know nobody else can get it. And so I show it to them. I have kids that come back and they say, "I was watching this movie," or "I told my dad about this," or something, and just find those connections. And that's what I love as a teacher. I would have loved it as a student if it happened more, and so that's what I try to do.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Awesome. Eric, and your expertise in film, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you've watched a ton of movies. Take me back. Take me to a movie that brings you to someplace else.
Well, I'm going to start off with this movie called Brick.
Okay.
It's from 2006. Ryan
Johnson.
Yeah, I believe he did one of the Star Wars movies.
One of the Star Wars. Did Looper.
Looper's great.
He did.
Yeah.
Which Star Wars movie did he do?
He did The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Last Jedi? Okay.
Last Jedi.
There you go.
God, he's got another movie that's really good. What's his other movie that's good? I'm drawing a blank, but I love Looper and I love
I know he
Brick.
directed a couple Breaking Bad episodes too.
Oh yeah,
Well, there
definitely.
you go.
Okay.
But yeah. This movie, I obviously being out of high school for quite some time, after, this movie had come out. In a way, it's a neo-noir taking place in a high school, and it's a movie that should not work on paper. It's basically high schoolers being detectives, solving a crime.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt
plays a guy named Brendan. He gets a distressing call from his girlfriend, and she's just, I need help. Finds her murdered, and it's basically him solving the murder of his girlfriend. And this movie, if you're a fan of noir in any way, it hits every key point. I mean, they're lifting dialogue straight out of the 30s and 50s and transplanting it into this movie, and it works. I don't understand how it works, but maybe it's just the way the actors say it, and it doesn't come off completely hokey. And it's actually a really amazing detective story. Yeah. Like it all makes sense at the end, and all the clues are put right in front of you. So if you're paying attention, you can solve it. Yeah. And those are my favorite kind of detective movies. Like, oh, it's nothing that's out of nowhere that the audience didn't see.
Yeah. What's better, figuring it out or being right?
There you go.
So they just give you this ending, and oh cool, I didn't see that coming, which is fine. Yeah. But you're like, oh, I think it's this. You feel engaged and part of the story because you're also trying to solve the murder.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like the kind of time period it's set in, where it feels like a late '90s.
Oh, definitely, early 2000s.
Yeah,
maybe, definitely. And I think what's so cool about this movie, or what how I identified with it rather, is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, or Brendan. He's basically the outcast, the social outcast, but he's not hindered by it. He uses those as his strength, and I think everyone feels like an outcast at some point in their high school career, or just school in general. Yeah. And to see somebody taking those things that should be a weakness and playing them up as strengths, and being like, oh wow, I mean, this guy's beating up football players. He's taking on 5 drug addicts. It's inspiring to say, wow, I mean, if I had seen this movie in high school, maybe I could have not have...
Maybe you could have solved your girlfriend's murder.
I could have solved my girlfriend's murder,
If you know anything, if you have any tips, please call us.
Yeah, exactly. It's Crime Stoppers. But yeah, that's a great movie, man.
Nice.
That was probably the one I'm starting with. So.
I like the black and white kind of motif of it too.
Yeah.
I like how you really could just put it in the middle of Hell's Kitchen
Sure.
and have it be Marv looking for for so and so.
Totally.
Like it does have a really
big time.
really interesting story that transcends its scene.
Oh, big time.
Its scenery.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad that you brought that to it because when I was going through the movies thinking about this, I just kept coming up with mostly comedies.
Right.
I kept coming up with comedies, and for me, I think the school movie that maybe started all, at least for high school for me, was American Pie. I think American Pie has, you put yourself back in high school where you are really concerned about having sex with girls. It's all right, wifey, that's just what it is. And just these like four friends who are not really, have a way with the ladies, but there's a couple of them pretending to be, just all of them making this weird sex pact. And, there's the awkward guy, the jock, the nerd, the less jock, the guy who has the older brother that teaches them things, which is very common in a lot of those high school circles. And whenever I see that movie, whenever I hear a song from that soundtrack, I remember, like, the emotional state I was in 1999. I think we were about to be freshmen.
Yeah.
So these were seniors in the movie. So but it definitely framed a time. Jason Biggs and his plaid shirts. It's a moment in time, and it's ridiculous, and it's so funny to watch these four guys take having sex for the first time so seriously. They've got plans and they've got schemes and they've got tricks that they're trying to, they're trying to trick women into this, which doesn't fly today, gentlemen. All right. But it's so interesting to see that. And like, I think that if they were trying to watch us as young men trying to seal the deal with a girl, it would be laughable. Like we would laugh at ourselves in the attempts to make that sweet love. So that one really took me there.
I will say, Roman, like I had a different takeaway from American Pie. I usually think of like Buddy Holly and the David Easton kind. No, but I think
Whiskey and Rye and all that.
Yeah. I actually have a second movie on my list that is a Jack Black comedy.
Oh my gosh, you're ridiculous.
But it has a friend of yours that you met at Comic-Con in an elevator, I believe, Colin Hanks, and that is Orange County. And that's what I like about Orange County is, like a lot of high school-based movies, it's looking in towards the future. It's about getting into college, into the right college. And he's thinking, I got to do this, I got to get into the right school, these things. John Lithgow plays his dad. There's a lot of great bit characters, like an actor or actress you'll recognize from something else, has like one little scene here and there. But, this guy, he's super stressing. He's not getting the info that he is supposed to get into college. His transcripts aren't being sent. His brother's kind of the screw up that lives with them, and it kind of becomes a little bit of a road trip at one point. And there's a lot of fun stuff about it, but I think it goes back to when you're in high school, there is the time where it's like, this is like the best time of our life and these things, but then a transition happens to a lot of people and they're like, looking towards the future. What job am I going to have? What school am I going to go to? Am I going to marry my sweetheart? Am I going to, and it's funny because looking back on high school, the things that most people stress about are the things that like doesn't seem to matter anymore. I mean, if you're an athlete and there's that big game, I mean, maybe you won the big game. Yeah. That was 15 years ago or something. It's like, is that affecting your life now? And it's so funny because so many of the high school and school-based movies really highlight that idea that high school kind of in a way is sort of a time capsule. And it's fun to take out the yearbook or go back and look at pictures and talk to people you went to high school with, be like, oh, you remember this? And it's so funny just how life changes those priorities, and those big things back then are so little, like you're saying with like American Pie now, where it's like oh, looking back on it, these guys were so obsessed with this, and now it's, but there's so many things where for some people it's music, for some people it's popularity, for some, it's just funny to see how all movies that deal with school in some way usually have that component of everything feels like it's the most important thing right now, but then, it's part of that growing up process when it's like looking back and it's like, it felt important at the time. It felt like the most important thing in the world. But looking back now, it's not. Yeah, and it's and with these school movies, I think that they tend to encapsulate and capture those moments in time, those little milestones. You have 4 years in college to make your mark on what?
You don't know, but you're trying to make your mark on something. Whether it's, am I going to have these friends? We're all going to go away. Some of us are going to join the military. And it just creates this weird thing where there's an end to it, but then you can't see past it. But it doesn't, but your life doesn't end. There's other story to go on after it, but it feels so big. And I think that's why this was such an interesting idea to bring along. Eric?
I was gonna thinking about doing Mean Girls.
Oh,
How can we not talk about Mean Girls?
how can you not? It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. It's an excellent movie. It's hilarious and it's
Tina
on the
Fey
nose.
penned the movie. I don't know who directed it. And I feel awful.
His name is I think I have it down here. His name is Mark Waters.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not familiar with any of his other work.
Me either.
It was on my short list of
Oh,
films.
for sure. Yeah. I remember getting the text, and this was the first movie that popped into my head.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously, again, a few years out of high school.
Yeah.
After when this movie came out, but after I rewatched it last night, and I can just see this movie being relevant today.
Oh yeah.
I mean, except for maybe the burn book will be everybody has a burn book now.
Right. It's
And they
social
can
media.
Yeah, essentially use it as a weapon basically now. But I mean, every character in that movie just hits a home run.
Yeah.
Regina George is probably one of the greatest villains in the last 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Thanos and then
Regina George, easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the movie it's funny, it's a comedy, but I mean, it delves into conformity, homophobia, and just seeing how in general. I mean, maybe you can attest to the teachers having to maybe get a second job because they're not paid enough, and all the struggles teachers go through.
Yeah.
It
does hit a lot of layers.
It touches on a lot of stuff, man, and it still manages to be pretty funny.
Yeah.
It doesn't get too heavy, even when she gets hit by the bus at the end.
So spoilers, guys.
Well, hey, it's if you haven't seen it yet,
it's a 15-year-old movie or something.
I'm gonna start a burn book on you. If you haven't seen this movie. Come on.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Again, I love the main character, Lindsay Lohan's character. I don't remember her name in the movie.
I know, I just watched it too.
Katie?
Katie? Yeah, it's Katie. Yeah. But it looks like Katie. Yeah. And I love the idea of her coming from Africa, her parents, traveling the world, and then her just kind of like seeing. I love it when she's walking through the school and she's seeing the people like act like animals.
Which is great.
And it's a really smart way to do it. It's based off of a book by I think Rosalind Weissman, I think is her name. And it's called like The Queen Bees and the Wannabes.
There you go.
And I mean, I think, obviously she's going to be a little bit older when she publishes her book. Tina Fey is a little bit older at the time. But these motifs that just these cliques and these groups of people, like it's a tale as old as time.
What was brilliant also was, this movie shows that it's a very culturally, ethnically diverse high school, but they all manage to segregate themselves.
Yeah.
Which
I remember that when I was in high school.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just funny how that hasn't changed.
No.
And it didn't really touch on it too much, but it just showed it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was brilliant that they actually managed to have the guts to show
it wasn't like
without being heavy-handed.
Exactly. It's not a race thing. It's we're always going to gravitate to, you look like how I think I look like.
For sure.
And then you kind of see where things shake out. I mean, me, you, and AJ, we look nothing.
Our crew in high school was very
we were very diverse.
Yeah.
We were ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
right?
there you go. Yeah.
I think one of the things, probably the two big things I love about Mean Girls is Tim Meadows as
Oh
the
my
principal.
God.
Oh, yeah.
It was just
unsung hero.
every scene he's in, he has great lines, great moments, and he's got like that. There's that whole thing about how he hates his sister for naming his nephew Anthony.
But he's like, I will keep you here all night if I have to. We can only keep until 6. I will keep you here till 6 if I have to.
Yeah.
Great lines. Great delivery. Tim Meadows, unsung hero in Hollywood.
Absolutely. The other thing too is a lot of times the secondary characters, the other members of the clique, are usually underwritten. They're usually there to amplify the antagonists, like Regina George.
Sure.
But I'll tell you, Gretchen Wieners. Those girls, they are hilarious in the movie.
Yeah.
Like they have great lines.
Yeah. Amanda
Amy
Seyfried.
Poehler as Amanda Seyfried is Amy Poehler is the mom, the one that wants to be best friend to her daughter,
which I love.
Yes, there's so many of those secondary characters that it's like. I'm not much of a Lindsay Lohan fan, but it's a great comedy.
It's an excellent. It's in my top 10.
Well, I would say it's like the definitive school movie because if it's a school movie, we all can identify with at least one of those characters, or we knew one of those characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the one movie where I see both of those things.
Yeah.
Like, I'm one of those people, and I knew 5 of those people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
whether, you know, if you watch Can't Hardly Wait, you're like, wow, okay, this
is
is
a
American Pie.
This is a parody
yeah,
of a parody.
exactly.
You know?
And this was something kind of original, but it's the tale of oldest time
Yeah.
with an original take on it.
Yeah.
You know? It's pretty awesome. So yeah.
And I love
That's
Tina
just
Fey. You know, I think
yeah,
she,
great,
you know,
amazing, brilliant.
she gets her due all the time. But I think that
Yeah,
she's
she's
wonderful, and I think she's genuinely funny.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find. It's hard to find somebody who can actually write funny, who can deliver funny.
Are you talking women or just people?
Oh man, I was trying not to do that, but like, you know, you got there on your own. You know, you're a free thinker. I want to apologize
I'm
to.
calling it as a season.
I want to apologize to Mr. Tunney's students who may get into this, because a lot of mine are sex related and it has nothing to do with him. Parents, don't get mad. This is all me. He does not share my views. The next movie I'm going to talk about is Superbad. All right. Superbad is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I think Jonah Hill is a mix of you and AJ. Just witty and weirdly confrontational. And you know, I don't know. There's just something weird about it. And I just love their friend dynamic. Again, high school's coming to an end. Where are we going? You know, and when we were in high school, Eric and I went to high school together. Jordan and I, we've just been friends for double-digit years now. Feels like we're still in high school with all of his he said, she said, whatever. But I just think this movie is really funny. It encapsulates yet another thing that a lot of people do in high school. Kids don't drink. It's not good for you. To 21, okay? But getting alcohol for the party. Getting alcohol for the party. I mean, it's the whole basis of this movie. And take a time machine. When you're in high school, again, you shouldn't do this, kids. You know, you're trying to figure out how to make your party cool. You have the pretty girl who doesn't realize she's pretty, trying to throw a party and has no means to get alcohol but has cash. And then the guy who's really into her and hopes to be with her is like, I can do this for you, having no way to do it. And just the wackiness that ensues.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know. Again, it was a few years after high school, but it still resonated really well. Seth Rogen wrote it with Evan Goldberg. Goldberg, I think is his name. His writing partner. And yeah, it was, you know, took me back.
Right.
You know, never got pulled over and wrangled into any weird cop stuff, but that's just cherry on top. Cherry on top.
We've all had those misadventures. I think that's why that movie resonates.
It
because
does.
Maybe we didn't have that exact same scenario, but we've all been out too late.
Yes.
Places we shouldn't have been.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's why the movie, you know, that's why you can laugh at it, because you survived it and you didn't get caught. And that's why you're able to laugh and be like, oh yeah, I'm never doing crazy stuff like that.
I saw a great meme. It was like, it's great to see all those people I cheated death with all through high school grow up to be such responsible parents.
Well, and I think one of the things I like about Superbad is how much all the guys rag on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Michael Cera gives
so
as
real.
much as he takes, and that's so much like the guys in high school. Like, you know, I mean, a lot of movies they show
today,
like,
still,
like a lot of times. Like that's like how guys bond.
Yes.
And that's how, and that like they vocalize their frustration. Like there's so many times that Jonah Hill and Michael Cera go back and forth with their frustrations, and that's stupid. What are you doing? And but they have that comfortability because you know they're best friends, and they say, you know, and then you've got the transplant. You have McLovin,
yes,
you know,
yes.
and like and there's kind of that. You know, he's not like us. We're different from him, but then they kind of all realize they're all kind of the same.
Yes,
and so that dynamic is very much also kind of that human element to the comedy where it does bring in a relatability that, like me, I didn't have any alcohol parties in school, but man, the way my friends and I talked to each other and ragged on each other and we're like vented our frustration is just like that.
Yes.
I mean, real friendships birth from honesty. And if you can be genuinely honest, I mean, that's where all that ragging comes from. You're like, oh, I know this person through and through, so I can trash you.
Yeah, I can say some messed up stuff to you, and we're still gonna be friends afterwards.
Fine, you know, it's verbal sparring, and it's fine, and it's amazing. You know,
it's helpful. It teaches you to as especially as men, it teaches you to say terrible things in a moment without being from a place of anger.
Sure.
So that when you have to be in a place of anger, you can say some really messed up stuff.
There you go. Pretty much,
I think that's the training.
Yeah.
I think that's the underlying theme of Superbad.
Man, I've got some really out there movies. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a rapid
Just
fire.
blitz them? Okay,
Because
yeah.
these are, okay, so here we go. Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, now here's the thing.
Here's the thing. Lauryn Hill's in there, and it's awesome for some reason.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But no, what I actually found funny about that is, the first movie had nothing to do with the school, and then they were like, let's take all these characters and all their wackiness and then put them into a school. And sometimes comedy sequels do that, where they sort of, well, let's take the characters and put them in a new environment. And I don't really care too much for the music in the movie, but like the school dynamic, inner city kids, and these things, and like try to
it's Dangerous Minds with songs.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, and Dangerous Minds. Dangerous Minds in there, and the brilliant and super underrated spoof of Dangerous Minds, High School High.
I was lit.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to bring it up.
Okay, thank you. I was like, I don't think it's gonna be much.
John Lovitz.
I love High School High. So my name is Jordan, and my next door neighbor was named Jorgen.
Jorgen?
With a G.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, he's working through stuff. No. He was a year younger than me. And I remember one day there was a Blockbuster down the road. I had my driver's license, and I was like, let's go rent a movie. And he had never seen it. I think I'd caught it on TV once or twice. And so we were downstairs at my house in our basement watching this movie, and just everything made us laugh.
Yeah.
And it was just super ridiculous. John
It's so
Lovitz is just he's so awesome as this, like, he plays a great, like, I want to be a tough guy, but like nothing. I mean, there's a kid named Anthony in that movie. Just great comedy there. Another movie that I think is sometimes glossed over as a school movie is Kindergarten Cop.
I was thinking about talking about it.
Good.
I don't know how absurd we wanted to get, but yes, let's do it.
Absolutely. And what's great about Kindergarten Cop is usually in school movies, the main character is the one that's like trying to figure things out. They're the kid that's like, I don't know my place in life. I'm at a new school. But Kindergarten Cop, it's the undercover Arnold Schwarzenegger teacher that is the one trying to figure it out. Oh. All the kindergartners, they know what's going on.
They know their place in life.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole fish out of water thing, and there's just so many great moments where, and it's for a Schwarzenegger movie, it's got a lot of well-written humor with it with the kids. Yeah. There's some great stuff in it.
Arguably the best bad guy ever.
Yeah, up there with Regina George, Crisp.
And Hans Gruber. Crisp is right there with Hans Gruber.
But so I think sometimes it's like easy to forget because we tend to skew towards high school.
Yeah,
most movies are made for high school, but there, so I had to throw that one out.
No, I love it's
we
great.
Love Kindergarten Cop.
We probably watched that a billion times.
We've watched that. I think we Gone Fishing.
Yeah, ironically, we watched Kindergarten Cop. Like, oh, this movie's dumb. Let's watch it. Then we genuinely started to like Kindergarten Cop.
There's an early moment in Kindergarten Cop where he headbutts like a lot of people. So it's like Eric was always making me laugh because he would like grab me by the shirt and he would like pretend to headbutt me, and like he would pretend that Schwarzenegger would just like hello and just like just like a left headbutt and a right headbutt. Like that's all he does in the movie for his fight is headbutting.
It's his move.
Oh my gosh!
Man.
What a weird movie that does center around like kids for the most part, like you said, your fish out of water thing. But then like they fake that girl's overdose, and Chris is murdering guys to steal toys, and it's and his like weird mom, like
the kid climbs the tower.
Like
there's all these like
Yeah, his stupid foil. You're gonna get yourself killed, kid. All right, pay attention.
Yeah,
ferret. I bet you ferret sales went through
the roof.
I wanted a ferret so bad after that, and my parents would not get me one.
They knew what was up.
Yeah,
because they're awful.
Yeah, but man, I bet you that they went through the roof after that because I wanted one.
There
still
was a
kind
lot
of want one.
Ferrets within like 2 months. Though.
It's my daughters. If they bring up ferret, it's gonna be hard for me to say no. And then I'm gonna be real mad by the time we're done with it. I have another one. Accepted.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the movie Accepted because, like I said, when I was going to graduate, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to go be a teacher. I think I could do that because of the same reasons you are. I think I can communicate with people younger than me in a way that they can make, I don't want to be this hardened teacher just giving the facts. And there was just so much, like, nobody in my family had gone to college at this point. And there was I felt like a lot of pressure. I was the first one going to school. And then my grandfather told me, he's like, you know what? He's like, if you don't know what you want to do, he's like, you don't have to go to school. He's like, just just do what you want to do. And it like really, got to, but I was always so paranoid about what I was going to do and disappointing my family. And it's another comedy, but it has all of those aspects. All of these people who didn't know what they wanted to do or didn't get into any colleges, like being able to go to this place to like, it would be interesting if there was like just like a buffer 2 years for college, where you're learning like what college is supposed to be like. And some people would say that, oh, that's what a community college is for and this and that. Yeah, but at the end of the day, if you go to a community college, you're spending 5 or 6 years in college as opposed to just those 4 for that bachelor's. But I thought that it was just a really fun movie, another Jonah Hill school movie.
There you go.
I think it's funny that he did this where he was in college and then later did Superbad in high school.
Justin Long?
Justin Long,
Yeah, okay.
Blake Lively's in it.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Lewis Black.
Oh my gosh,
yes,
Lewis Black
yep,
is in
yes,
it. Yeah, that's
yep.
right. And yeah, it's a fun movie about not knowing what you're doing and then just getting crazy. I think that's a great moment.
It shows you what your early 20s, late teens are supposed to be.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it figured out.
No.
And and if you do, more power to you. But those 4 years after are about finding your way.
Yeah.
And and you take some lumps along the way, and it's great and it's fun. It's supposed to be fun.
I've got a couple rapid fire ones as well
Go ahead.
that maybe you guys might want to
I
chime
got
in.
one more.
Go ahead. Do yours.
No. Mine's going last.
Okay, yours going last. All right.
I have to.
And then I also thought of a couple comic book ones.
Oh, cool. Oh,
Okay?
yeah, perfect. Yeah,
It's kind of in our vein, boys.
Sure.
But I was thinking along the lines of, oh man, I just lost my train of thought with what they are. But like I said, Christine, my wife, wanted to bring up School of Rock, and she also thought Napoleon Dynamite
Yeah,
was worth it. It's weird because it's modern, but then somehow feels like it's in the 80s.
Yeah, it's out of place.
Yeah, just like this.
I think it's just trying to show the isolation of Idaho, basically, how out of touch it is. But
like
I thought that movie was brilliant.
It's only, like Napoleon
splits
Dynamite's only on VHS in Idaho.
Yes, exactly.
And the Sandlot Gang.
Ah, okay.
Summer. It makes me think of summer and
Yeah.
just like, I think we all had that, at least one amazing summer where the adventure was like, gosh, I can't wait to get back to school and tell the story. And I had thought about maybe talking about a sports episode down the road. I don't know if I'm super into that. But the Sandlot definitely brings me to a place in time as well. Even you like that movie.
Oh, do you? Yes,
I think it's hard to be a guy and not like that movie.
Yeah.
Especially in our age group.
For sure.
It was definitely a good one for us at the time.
I mean, it's about friendship,
Mm-hmm.
and it's cool that a lot of these movies center around friendship because
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of your high school or just school in general is going to be making friends, seeing and being friends with different types of people.
That might be the most important thing about high school and movies is learning how to develop relationships.
For sure.
And like seeing that, when you see these movies, you're like, oh, it's hard for everybody. It doesn't just work
What's
for
cool
everybody.
about this is that they all don't stay to hang out at the end.
Yeah, they
And
explain.
that they kind of just split apart, and that's a harsh fact that people have to deal with. Is that sometimes you don't, your best friend will only be your best friend for 2 years, and then they're gone. But I think that was like the first movie I saw where they actually kind of explain, oh wow, they're not all hanging out, they're not all playing baseball anymore.
Yeah, I think I think we all got, we all have our own groups of friends that we still talk to, 15, 16 years out of college or out of high school now, and it's like it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome, and like I said, I think that's probably the thing I learned the best in high school was like, public school failed me, obviously, but I did learn how to create relationships, right? And learn some social banter. I think that there's a few good comics out there that can kind of encapsulate some of the high school, and I'm sticking to high school for the most part, vibe. The obvious one is X-Men, but more importantly, New X-Men.
Sure.
And it's a really cool, more of a trade school than your than your normal high school and middle school experience. But again, showing relationships develop, manifesting. Instead of the really hard exam, having to fight a bad guy, it's roles are reversed.
Well, then also showing
teamwork.
How that and people are so different.
Yes.
And it goes past the skin deep stuff that their mutant powers manifest differently and
it's puberty.
Yeah.
Everybody's puberty.
Exactly. And it's such a cool allegory for it, and just accepting people for like, oh, they're gonna set me on fire maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna trust you.
Yeah. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
I mean, that for the first 3 seasons is all high school, and then a couple years of college and all of that.
Yeah.
And again, shout out to our boy Joss Whedon. Being able to. Tell the story of Buffy losing her virginity, and then the guy, because it's Angel, changing afterward. How it changes the relationship, and the symbolism of that. Again, making friends, losing friends, people going off to high school or to college, stabbing friends, being stabbed by friends.
Exactly.
All of those things. And then Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley's Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
it is a fantastic book about Peter Parker in high school.
Yeah.
There's even one issue, it's one of my favorite issues, of Peter being in class, hearing over something, I can't remember, he might have seen it on his phone, that the Rhino is downtown.
Right.
Rhino's downtown doing some stuff. And it's about him trying to get out of there so he can handle the issue.
Yeah.
And he keeps getting stopped, you have a hall pass, what are you doing, blah, blah. By the time he gets there, the Avengers have already shown up and save the day, So there's no action. It's just him trying to get out of school.
That's just great.
All right, I'm very curious to hear what your last one is.
I really am hesitating to do it, but I really want to hear your thoughts on it. I doubt maybe you've seen it, Jordan.
Jordan's got a wide.
I'm talking about Gus Van Zant's Elephant.
Elephant, yeah.
Maybe we could talk. Maybe not about. Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Is that the one about?
It's about the Columbine.
Yeah,
it's mirroring Columbine.
Yeah,
the school shooting.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's right.
I haven't even heard of it.
Okay, it's basically Gus Van Zant's reimagining the Columbine shooting. It's kind of going through the day of the shooting.
Oh wow!
But through different characters, obviously. They're not, saying these people are the Columbine characters.
Oh, okay. So it's not taking place in.
It's like
okay.
it's like
it's like an Elseworld tale for Columbine.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
From what I remember, I think I saw it on Independent Film Channel, sometime or something.
That's where I saw it too.
Yeah. It's hard because. Even mention movies and some we didn't mention Stand and Deliver or Lean on Me, where it's where they handle more serious sort of things and
right,
and violence with teenagers, even violence in schools, is something that we tend to feel is a more recent, to some people they'd say there was never a school shooting before Columbine, but there had been.
Yeah.
But Columbine was really, I think, sort of that big tipping point where people began to say, the shooting that had happened in Jonesboro, Arkansas, that was a middle school, that had happened before Columbine. But you started having people talk about school safety.
Yeah.
And it was more than just a DARE program where a cop shows up and says, don't do drugs. But now it's we're doing drills.
Yeah.
And and so with movies that tackle more heavy subjects like Elephant or Dangerous Minds, even that go into 187.
187.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, movies that handle that deal with those sorts of things. The sad reality is that sometimes we look at them; they are fiction. They're works of fiction, or it's a based on a true story or something. But the reality is that when you're in school, when you're a teacher and you have 120 kids that you teach, there is the kid that they don't have a stable living situation. There is the kid that's sitting there struggling in class because they didn't eat breakfast and they didn't eat dinner the night before, and they were waiting for school lunch, and it's hard and it's heartbreaking, but it is the kind of thing where as a teacher you have to be dynamic enough to know how to address those needs if possible. And the sad reality is there are some things that are beyond my purview as a teacher, beyond the school program, beyond the district, but in particular with Elephant, I think that sometimes fiction and media, there's a concern about humanizing people that do horrific things, humanizing, some of these people that commit these atrocities.
Yeah.
And I think, some people would say, I would guess a quick Google of Gus Van Zant's Elephant, you're going to find somebody out there that critiqued the movie and said that it was a school shooter's manifesto or dream, or it was in some way encouraging. But if we don't tell these stories, whether it's the true story or whether it's these events that do happen, my life might not be directly touched by school violence, but seeing a movie like that might, that might cause a positive change in the right direction.
That's what I took from it, was seeing it follows different students through the day, and then some of them saving some of the other students, putting their lives on the line, and it's showing that, this out of this horrible thing that happens. Like, it shows who the true character comes through on that. And again, I'm not a teacher. I just can't imagine having to maybe go through something like that. And I think the movie really portrayed, how it would go down, and it showed a lot of the heroics of the teacher trying to keep everyone quiet, trying to get everyone to escape. And it's a heavy movie, man. But it really, again, it's drawing attention, through media. And I don't think it at all portrays the gunmen as these lost souls and that just had a violent outburst. It shows that they were set up to fail from the beginning, and sometimes as much as you want to save people, it just doesn't happen.
And this is one of those moments like, and hey guys, the episode took a dark turn. I apologize, but it's also very interesting to talk about. And the Columbine shooting in particular is one of those moments in my life where I remember where I was.
Me too.
I remember where I was when 9/11 happened. I remember where I was when Osama bin Laden was killed, and I remember where I was. I was in weight class in high school. We were lifting weights, and like our coach just like turned up the radio, and like it was happening, and it's just, and I mean, this show took a really weird turn, but what's the theme of the show?
We're talking about memories of high school.
In a movie that takes us to a place. I mean, this takes me to a place, and it's heavy, and it's interesting to think about too, because that would have been in 98, 99. And also that year is American Pie.
Right.
So I have two moments from 1999 that take me to the same place,
right,
but different
and
ends of that spectrum.
It's amazing how didactic it can be.
It's so crazy.
It puts you there. It's like you have some cherished memories of being in high school. Then you have, wow, I was in the same state that this happened.
And if to think about it out loud, as we started the show, I was like, oh, I loved high school. I had a great time in high school. Doesn't mean everything was great, and it definitely wasn't great for certain people. I've never seen that. Why is it called Elephant? What's the?
Well, it's loosely
is it the Elephant in the Room?
That's one take on it. There's like an old tale about they bring in an elephant and three blind men touch the elephant, and they think it's a different animal. So you're getting three different perspectives on what happened that day.
Wow.
So that's what Van Zant's explanation on it was.
Okay.
But it's a heavy movie, and I mean it's a one watcher. It's definitely a one watcher, and it's hard to watch. And again, he wasn't paying tribute to anything. He wasn't trying to be necessarily political with this. He was just trying to show realism, and I thought it captured it pretty well. And it's again, like you were saying, not all things in high school are great. I think we tend to look at it through rose-colored glasses.
Oh, completely.
But the reason we do...
Remember when I was 6'6" and just jacked?
Exactly.
It was awesome.
Man.
It was awesome.
And, we can do that, and I think the reason we do see things back in the past is better than they were is because we had friends to get us through it. We had people to, that's awful. Yeah. But I got my crew. I got my friends. We can still talk crap about everything that's going on about this and be... and I think that's talking about all these goofy comedies. Yeah. That's what gets you through. Yeah. Because everyone had a Stifler. You know what I mean? Everybody had the guy from Accepted. Everyone had the Justin Long.
Yeah. His name is Bartleby.
Right? But, I mean, I think that's what I'm taking away from this episode is like, it was... I had some rough times in high school, but I had my friends. And I think as long as you have a core group of, like, people that have your best interest in mind... And you you have awesome teachers like Jordan. Yeah. Like, it's not as bad as people say it's going to be. Yeah. There's hope,
Wow. Wow, kids. I did not see the show taking that direction, but I found it to be very interesting. And now I kind of want to think of other serious movies that remind me of school that aren't, just I don't put in the forefront. I will say there is a spectrum of high school movie, now that I think about it, that has to do with Dangerous Minds.
There you go.
Okay? Where would you put The Substitute? Dangerous Minds and High School High. Like that's so I think The Substitute would be on the far right, and then you would have Dangerous Minds in the center, and then you would have High School High at the end of that meter.
Exactly. And then above it all would be Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, there we go.
And I thought about talking about Ferris Bueller,
sure.
But and the only reason again to talk about Ferris Bueller is the friendships and all that stuff. Yeah. But to point out that you know, because we could have brought up a bunch of Hughes movies.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm glad none of us did.
Yeah, we could have brought up a ton of
Yeah,
them.
it kind of would have been, you know, a soft.
Which I guess Ferris Bueller is a Hughes movie too, right?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we could have brought up a bunch of Hughes movies.
Oh, yeah.
But Ferris Bueller, for me, more than any of, even 16 Candles, more than any of those other ones, like that one, and it was on my short list, you know,
Yeah.
but I did not bring it up, but that movie in, what, 1980?
85,
86.
Sure.
Yeah.
To up and through Superbad in 2007, it's still a lot of the same
Yeah.
beats. It's
Oh,
a
for
lot.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
remix.
Yeah.
It's just the remix.
Well,
of
we
it.
were talking about Clicks and Mean Girls,
Mhm.
and it's like, you know, Breakfast Club's a great
Yeah.
movie that
Oh,
just,
yeah.
it's like you take one from each clique,
Yeah.
put them
Oh, yeah.
in a room together
Oh, yeah.
Which-
on a Saturday,
Yeah.
and, you know, so.
Which that new Jumanji, the
Oh,
Welcome to
yeah.
the Jungle,
Very
kind of had that
I
moment.
remember saying
which-
that. I was watching it like that. I'm like, it's just Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
But in a video game.
Yeah, which, I mean,
cool. Genius.
Yeah,
Take it, man.
very interesting. And hey, Colin Hanks. There we go.
Colin,
Full
there you
circle,
go, there
baby.
you go, yep.
Full circle. You know what, guys? I think we'll end on that note.
Heck it. Colin Hanks, you the man.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show today. If you like what we're talking about, if you like what we're doing, please hit that subscribe button. Give us a like. Leave us a comment. Shoot us a DM at REC Comics on Instagram. Eric, what did you learn about your school movies today?
You know, they run the gamut. They can be super innocuous and funny, or they can be downright disturbing.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding. Big Tuna?
I learned I should have been a cop. No, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, as a teacher, like my wife makes fun of me because the first day of summer rolls around, I'm like watching videos, I'm like reading about stuff, and she's like, take a summer, take a break.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, like I love it. I love learning. I love teaching. And there's parts you don't like.
Yeah.
You know, there's but it is the kind of thing where it's like, you know, I realized like my third or fourth day teaching that like this is my calling. Like this is what like my skills, my interest, my passion, my personality. It just fits so well with being a teacher, and the understanding of like I'm not the best teacher. Like I'm always working to be better and learn new things, and you know I've known teachers that they just run their copies off of their worksheets, and that this is what we're doing week 1, this is what we're doing week 2, and it's there's no dynamics to it, and I'm just like, you know what, like if that's what they want to do with the profession, they can. But I know for me, I'm gonna take it a different route. And it's funny because every now and then there's little glimpses of a student's behavior in class where they do something, and I think to myself like, yeah, I did that. I would have done that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would, but I'm like, oh, I gotta keep the face, I gotta get, but yeah, and I think kids are smarter, more clever than we give them credit for. And every now and then you see that spark, and you see that, and it's like, oh man, these kids are gonna replace me one day.
Better than the robots, kids, and that's what I learned. Better than the robots. Thank you again so much for listening. I have been your host, Roman Chavez.
Still Eric Icarus.
And thank you so much, Big Tuna, Jordan Tunney, for giving us the teacher's perspective on this topic and the idea. And guys, we will catch you next time. Thank you for listening.